Some nights arrive softly, like a warm shawl settling over the shoulders of the world. The day, bright, busy and full of sharp edges, steps back without complaint, and the room around you becomes simpler. You might notice the weight of your blanket, the quiet air on your skin, the gentle rise and fall of your breath, steady as a tide. If you're listening from a bed or a couch or a chair that has carried you through many evenings, let it carry you again now. Let your shoulders sink, let your jaw loosen, let your hands rest where they want to rest. There is nowhere to rush to tonight. We won't solve anything. We won't chase a conclusion. We will only drift slowly and safely into a story that moves like water, with small waves of imagery and long, calm stretches of silence between them. Imagine, for a moment, a land where even stone seems to remember. Not a hard, cold memory, but a warmer kind, the memory of footsteps, of wind, of hands that have touched the same surfaces for centuries. Long before the pyramids became symbols of mystery, long before Rome or Jerusalem shaped the religious world we recognize today, Egypt was already ancient. Its temples stood on inherited ground. Its rituals followed rules older than memory. And its knowledge did not arrive through sudden revelation, but through preservation, patient, practiced, and quietly repeated. Take a slow breath in, only as much as feels comfortable, and let it out as if you are setting down a heavy bag. The story will walk on its own. You only need to listen. Before we drift deeper into tonight's gentle journey, remember to subscribe to Ancient Sleep Story. Here you'll always find peaceful stories that soothe the heart and quiet the mind. Where are you listening from tonight? Leave a comment. Your presence adds warmth to this quiet corner of the night. Now, let us step through a doorway that does not creak. Let us enter a temple at dusk when the light turns honey gold and the air tastes faintly of warm dust. Outside, palm fronds whisper in a small breeze. Somewhere nearby, water murmurs, never loud, always present, like a lullaby that doesn't need lyrics. The temple is not only a place of prayer, it is also a place of order, a place that measures and remembers. In quiet rooms, records are kept. The height of the river, the timing of the seasons, the movement of grain and people. Life here has a rhythm, slow, practical, steady, and that rhythm can feel strangely comforting, even across thousands of years. On one shelf, tablets note the river's height in careful columns. On another, a thin calendar lists days as good for sowing, good for travel, or best for staying close to home. No thunderous prophecy, just a quiet sense that some moments feel smoother than others. If your modern life has ever taught you that truth, some evenings are made for effort, others for rest, then you already share a small understanding with these long-ago keepers of time. And in this temple, that understanding is written down, kept, and gently repeated. Down a narrow corridor, away from the open halls, there is a room for keeping. Shelves line the walls. Their edges are worn smooth by countless fingertips. Bundles of papyrus rest in careful stacks tied with simple cords. Small clay seals sit like pale moons against the tan of dried reeds. The scent is gentle and dry, ink, plant fiber, and a faint trace of resin, as if the room itself has learned how to stay calm. A lamp burns low on a table. Its flame is protected from drafts, so it doesn't flicker dramatically. It simply breathes. In that pool of light, a scribe works. He is not performing. He is not competing with anyone. He is doing what he has been trained to do, to copy, to preserve, to keep the words from slipping away. His posture is steady. His breathing is even. The reed pen in his hand moves with a practiced tenderness, as if each line is both ordinary and sacred. What do you think the scribes of yesteryear sat like, in the dim light and with a gentle rustling of paper? If you can, let the details appear without effort. A small bowl of ink, a piece of smooth stone used as a paperweight, the faint scratch of the pen, the soft sound of papyrus shifting when a scroll is unrolled. Outside, evening deepens. Inside, the lamp keeps its quiet circle of light. In the modern world, knowledge often arrives fast. It flashes on screens. It calls for attention with bright colors and urgent tones. It asks to be clicked, answered, shared. But here, knowledge arrives in the opposite way. It arrives by being kept safe. It arrives by being repeated. It arrives through the simple discipline of returning again and again to the same careful gestures. Egypt, in this sense, can feel less like a spectacle and more like a routine. The most powerful thing is not a shout, but a habit. Time is measured not by excitement, but by consistency, by the returning flood of the Nile, by the turning of stars, by the drip of water in a small clock set near the wall. Yes, there is a water clock here, a simple vessel that lets time fall, drop by drop, patient and unbothered. Each drop is a private sound, not a tick that scolds you into hurry, but a reminder that the night is long, and you are allowed to move slowly through it. Near the doorway, a shadow clock rests for morning, when sunlight will return and lay its gentle ruler across the stone. The temple keeps time the way a careful person keeps a home, not with panic, but with attention. If you have ever found comfort in a small nightly ritual, dimming the lights, setting a glass of water near the bed, arranging tomorrow's clothes, taking 3 slow breaths, then you already understand something of this. Structure can be kindness, rhythm can be shelter, balance can be a soft place to lean your mind. The scribe finishes a line and lets his hand rest. He looks at the page, not with pride, but with the calm of someone who knows that every copied word is a bridge across time. Then he reaches for another scroll, older and more fragile. Its edges are softened like fabric washed many times. He reads a few symbols and begins to copy again. This is how knowledge survives in Egypt, not by shouting its importance, but by being carried quietly from one set of hands to the next. In later centuries, far beyond this dusk-lit room, other people would look back at Egypt with a gentle kind of unease. Not because Egypt was louder than other ancient lands, not because its traditions were more frightening, but because so much of what it did seemed to function without demanding belief. Some methods were like crafts, a pattern arranged, a sound shaped, a moment chosen with care. The world responding as if it recognized structure. The idea is subtle, and tonight we will treat it softly, like holding a smooth stone in your palm. You don't have to decide what it means. You only have to feel the quiet question it carries. Our question for the night is simple and calming. What happens when order is treated like a skill? The scribe does not call his work philosophy. He does not call it a contest between good and evil. He calls it practice. Dip the pen. Lay the line. Pause. Breathe. Continue. The rhythm is so steady it can almost become your own. Outside the temple, the Nile continues its low song. Inside, the lamp continues to breathe light. The room continues to smell faintly of ink and dry reed. And the night around you continues to widen, offering more and more quiet. Somewhere beyond the corridor, a messenger passes through the courtyard. There is a murmur of voices, brief, distant, not urgent. A door closes softly, not as a warning, but as punctuation. The scribe does not look up. He has learned something we are still learning. You cannot control the whole world, but you can keep your hand steady. You can keep a rhythm. You can preserve what matters, one calm line at a time. And because every story needs a small seed of curiosity, even a bedtime story, there is one object in this room that feels slightly different. It is a chest, not large but carefully made. The wood is dark and smooth, polished by time rather than shine. A seal sits on its lid, plain and unadorned, as if whoever closed it wanted it to look ordinary. The chest rests on a shelf at eye level, not hidden, but not displayed. It is simply there, waiting like a word held back in a gentle conversation. The scribe glances toward it once, briefly, as if checking that it is still safe. Then he returns to his page. We will not open the chest tonight, not yet. We will only notice it, the way you might notice a star appearing between clouds. We will let it be a quiet promise. There is more, and it can wait. As you listen, let your breathing find its own slow tide, in and out, nothing forced. If your thoughts wander, let them wander like a leaf on water. The story will still be here when they return, because in this room, in this temple, in this ancient night, the most important thing is not speed, it is continuity. And in the next part of our gentle journey, we will follow that chest, not into danger, not into noise, but into the deeper hush of preserved knowledge. We will step along the Nile's edge, past candlelit shelves, through corridors where paper whispers softly when it is moved, and we will learn how a certain kind of quiet method traveled through centuries like a lantern carried low. For now, let the image settle. The scribe, the lamp, the soft drip of the water clock, and a sealed chest resting in safe darkness, as if it too is ready to sleep. The chest waits in a way that feels almost kind. It does not demand to be opened. It does not shine or call attention to itself. It simply rests there, sealed and steady. In the soft lamplight, its edges look smooth, rubbed by years of careful hands. The seal on its lid is plain. No dramatic emblem, no threat, no warning. Just a quiet mark that says, "This has been kept." If you're listening with tired eyes, you can let them soften now. Imagine the chest as a small point of stillness in a room full of gentle work, like a stone at the bottom of a calm stream. The scribe finishes another line. He pauses, and in that pause you can almost hear the night expanding outside the temple walls. He sets the reed pen down with a tenderness that feels like respect for the silence. Then without hurry, he rises. His sandals make the faintest sound against the floor. Dry stone, worn smooth by centuries of the same quiet steps. He crosses the room as if crossing a thought. He stands before the shelf, and for a moment he simply looks at the chest. Not with suspicion, not with fear. More like a person looking at a familiar object that holds a memory, something you might keep in a drawer at home, wrapped in cloth, safe from light and dust. Something you don't need every day, but that comforts you simply by being there. He lifts it carefully, both hands beneath it. The weight is modest, but the meaning feels heavier, like a book you've carried through many moves. He turns toward the corridor, and we follow softly. The corridor is long, and the temple is cool. The air tastes faintly of dust and resin, and the walls carry the day's warmth inside their stone, releasing it slowly as night arrives. Lamps are placed at intervals, each one a small pool of amber light. Between them, the shadows are gentle, more like blankets than darkness. As the scribe walks, the world becomes a sequence of quiet scenes, a doorway with a curtain of woven reed, a shallow basin where hands have been washed 1,000 times, a niche in the wall where an older lamp has left a stain of soot like a soft bruise of time. Everything here feels designed for steadiness. You might notice your own breath matching his pace, slow, measured, unforced, in, out, a simple rhythm like footsteps on stone. At the end of the corridor there is an opening to the courtyard. The night air enters like a cool sigh. Above, the sky is deep and wide, and the first stars have begun to appear, small, calm points of light. In the distance, The Nile moves in the dark, reflecting the sky the way a mirror reflects a face it has known for years. The scribe steps outside. The courtyard holds the remains of sunset, just a trace of warmth on the stones, a faint gold lingering near the horizon. A palm tree sways slowly, and its fronds whisper as if speaking to themselves. Somewhere, a bird settles into sleep, folding its sound away. The scribe walks toward the river path. The temple behind him is quiet now, but not empty. It is full of stored time, measured water, marked shadows, copied words. It is full of routines that have made the world feel understandable. And as he approaches the Nile, we begin to sense the deeper heartbeat beneath all this work. Because in Egypt, the river is not only water, it is a calendar that flows, it is a promise that returns. It is the slow, reliable movement that teaches people how to live with patience. Some years the flood is high, some years it is lower, but it comes, and when it comes, it leaves behind rich silt, dark and soft like freshly turned soil in a garden. It makes the land fertile, it makes the seasons predictable enough to plan for. It turns fear into preparation. If your modern life has ever felt like a constant surprise, emails, bills, news, deadlines, you can imagine how soothing it would be to live with a river that keeps returning, like a friend that never forgets the appointment. The path along the Nile is lined with reeds. They sway gently, brushing each other with a whispering sound. The mud near the edge is cool, and the air holds a faint sweetness, like water and plants and far-off smoke from cooking fires. The scribe sits on a low stone near the bank. He places the chest beside him. He does not open it yet. Instead, he looks out across the water. It's a long look, the kind of looking that makes your mind slow down. On the far side, lights flicker from distant homes, small and warm. A boat moves like a dark leaf on the river's surface. Its oars dip with a soft rhythm. Splash, lift, drip, splash, lift, drip. The sound is so steady it could be a lullaby. The scribe inhales and the air fills his chest. He exhales and the air leaves him. Everything around him seems to agree with that motion. And now, gently, we can begin to understand why a sealed chest matters in a world like this. Because Egypt's knowledge is not one single thing. It is a woven cloth of many threads, measurements, rituals, songs, calendars, architectural plans, medical notes, stories about stars and ideas about balance. Some of it is practical, meant for daily life. Some of it is spiritual, meant to help the heart feel held in the universe. And some of it is something in between, methods that sound almost like music, patterns that shape the mind, words that function like tools. Tonight, we are drifting toward that in-between place. But we will do it slowly, with light hands. The scribe opens the chest at last, not with ceremony, but with quiet patience. The seal breaks with the softest snap. Inside is a bundle of papyrus wrapped in linen that has been folded many times. The linen is pale and smooth, and it smells faintly of clean dryness. He unwraps it carefully, and the papyrus appears, thin, flexible, and slightly curled at the edges. The ink is dark, the lines precise. The symbols are arranged with the calm confidence of someone who knows that order itself can be soothing. He holds the papyrus up to the night air, and the moonlight touches it like a fingertip. Here, on these fibers, is a kind of instruction. Not an order shouted in a marketplace, not a command from a king, but guidance. Quiet, structured, repeated. It is written in a way that suggests it has been used many times, like a recipe passed down in a family, or a lullaby sung in the same melody for generations. Some lines mark time. Not time as a number, but time as a quality. A day might be described as bright or steady or watchful. Another day might be better for beginning a journey, while another might be better for staying close to home, for speaking less, for tending the body, for keeping to simple tasks. In the modern world, we often pretend that all days are the same. We schedule ourselves as if energy is a machine that never changes, but your body knows otherwise. Some mornings feel clear, some evenings feel tender. Some days you can carry more, and some days you need softness. The scribes knew this too, and they wrote it down. If you imagine these old calendars, sometimes called lists of days, you can picture a person in a quiet room, looking at the date and deciding how to move through it. Not with superstition, but with a gentle respect for rhythm. A good day for planting, for writing, for repairing nets, for starting something small. A quiet day for staying close, for resting, for reading, for listening. A watchful day for moving slowly, for speaking carefully, for paying attention to the way the air feels. And even the word dangerous, if it appears, does not need to be dramatic. It can simply mean today is not made for pushing. Today is made for caution. Today is made for less. The scribe traces a line with his finger, and you can almost feel the texture of ink raised slightly against the papyrus. He reads silently, lips barely moving, his eyes soften. Then he folds the papyrus back into its linen wrap. He does not look worried, he looks relieved, as if the act of naming the day's quality has made the world feel manageable, as if by placing time into gentle categories, the mind can stop wrestling with it. You might try that now, in your own quiet way. Without thinking too hard, ask yourself, what kind of night is this for you? Is it a bright night, where your mind still holds a little light? Is it a quiet night, where you need to be held by softness? Is it a watchful night, where you're letting go slowly? Whatever answer arrives, if any, let it be enough. You don't have to fix it. You don't have to judge it. You only have to notice. The scribe closes the chest again. The lid settles like a gentle final breath. And as he stands, lifting it back into his arms, the river continues its slow conversation with the shore. The stars continue to appear one by one. The night deepens, not like a threat, but like a comfort. In the next part of our journey, we will follow this chest back into the temple's inner rooms, into the spaces where geometry and silence meet, where the shape of a chamber can hold sound the way a bowl holds water. We will listen to how certain words were spoken, not as prayers, but as functions, measured, repeated, shaped by breath. For now, let the image remain simple. A man walking along the Nile with a sealed chest, moving through moonlight as if time itself is moving with him. When the scribe returns from the river, the night has grown deeper, but not darker. It is the kind of depth that feels like velvet, the kind that lets your eyes rest. The temple receives him again, as if it has been waiting with quiet hands. He steps back through the courtyard, where the stones hold a little of the day's warmth. Lamps glow low along the walls. Their light does not shout, it pools. He walks with the chest held close, the way you might carry something fragile that also happens to be precious. Inside, the corridor welcomes him with cool air and soft echoes. The temple is built with a kind of patience you can almost feel in your bones. Stones are fitted so closely that gaps are rare. Lines are straight, angles are clean. There is an order here that does not require explanation. Your mind can simply lean into it. As he walks, the water clock continues to measure the hours, drop by drop. Somewhere behind a screen, water slips through a narrow opening and falls into a waiting vessel. The sound is faint but steady. Not a ticking that nags, but a dripping that reassures. Time is moving. Time is allowed to move tonight. The chest is carried into a quieter wing of the temple, farther from the open halls. Here, the ceilings lower slightly. The air grows still. Even the footsteps feel muffled, as if the building itself is teaching anyone inside to walk gently. In this inner place, there is a room that feels different from the others, not because it is dramatic, but because it is precise. Its walls are smooth, its corners are exact. The doorway is aligned in such a way that when you stand at the threshold, you can see a straight line through to a second doorway beyond, and then to a third, like a corridor made of frames. The scribe sets the chest down on a table and pauses. He breathes in, he breathes out. Then he reaches for a lamp and carries it into the room, holding it low so the light remains calm. This room is a kind of instrument. It is built to hold silence, the way a bowl holds water. If you have ever stepped into a quiet library after being outside in traffic, you may remember that sudden feeling your ears unclench, your thoughts slow, your shoulders drop without being told. That is what this room does. It invites the nervous system to soften. The scribe sits on a woven mat. The mat is simple, but carefully made. He places the lamp near his knees. The flame reflects in his eyes as two small points of amber. Then he opens the chest again. He removes the linen bundle, unwraps it, and lays the papyrus on the table. The symbols on the page are not crowded. They have space around them. The spacing itself feels like a kindness. He reads, and the more he reads, the more you can sense a certain quality to the writing. It is not a story, it is not a plea, it is something closer to a procedure, yet written with the elegance of a culture that understood beauty as part of order. These are words meant to be spoken, not in a loud voice, not for an audience, spoken in a way that matches breath. A line begins, then pauses, another line follows, then repeats a pattern. Certain phrases return like steps in a dance that is familiar enough to be soothing. The rhythm matters, the length of the exhale matters, the quiet between the words matters. In some corners of the ancient world, people asked the universe for favors. In others, they tried to persuade gods with offerings. But here, in this small, precise room, the feeling is different. The universe is not being begged. It is being approached with a kind of respectful alignment, like adjusting a lamp wick until the flame sits steady. The scribe touches the page lightly, then closes his eyes for a moment, as if listening inward. When he opens them again, he begins to speak. His voice is low, even, warm. The words move like water over stones. He does not raise his tone, he does not rush. Each phrase leaves his mouth and settles into the room, and the room holds it. The sound does not scatter, it stays near, soft and contained. And you can imagine the architecture guiding the voice, shaping it, letting it return gently to the ears. This is one of the temple's quiet arts, the way space and sound can cooperate. The scribe's breath becomes part of the ritual, not as a mystical display, but as a practical anchor. Inhale, speak, exhale, pause, repeat. The body becomes a metronome. If you'd like, you can follow the same calm pattern without effort, without forcing anything. Let your inhale be easy. Let your exhale be a little longer. Let the pause be comfortable. Just one cycle and then another. The words on the papyrus are sometimes described by later people as not prayers, and that description can sound strange at first, but if you think about it in a gentler way, it becomes simple. Some words are requests, other words are functions. A lullaby is not a request, it is a function. It changes the air, it changes the body, it guides the mind towards sleep. The scribe's phrases are like that, shaped to create a condition. Not a dramatic condition, not a sudden change, but a settling, a smoothing, a return to balance. In the broader Egyptian worldview, balance had a name, Ma'at. It was not only a goddess, not only a concept. It was the idea that the world has a preferred steadiness, the way water prefers to find a level surface, the way a pendulum prefers to return to center. When things are out of balance, life feels sharp. When things return to balance, life feels possible again. The temple, in its geometry, is a lesson in Ma'at. Straight lines, measured spaces, repeated patterns. Even the columns, if you imagine them, are like frozen rhythms, the same motif returning again and again, soothing to the eyes. The scribe continues speaking, the room continues holding the sound, the water clock continues marking time, drop, drop, drop. And somewhere beyond the walls, the Nile continues its slow, steady movement. The entire world seems to agree, tonight is not for haste. At the end of one sequence, the scribe pauses. He lifts his gaze to the wall, where a faintly carved grid can be seen in the lamplight. It is not decoration, it is a measuring guide, a reminder that even art here is tied to proportion. If your mind has been tired from uncertainty, work decisions, family worries, the endless stream of news, then you can understand why a measured room would feel comforting. A square is a square. A line is a line. A rhythm is a rhythm. You can rest in that. The scribe returns to the papyrus and begins another passage. This one is softer, with more repetition. The same phrase appears again, with small changes like waves that resemble each other but are never exactly the same. As he speaks, you might notice how repetition can be a kind of medicine. The modern world often tells us we must always be new, always be faster, always be different. But the nervous system loves the familiar, it loves the predictable, it loves the gentle return. The scribe's voice becomes more like a hum. The room becomes more like a cradle. And in this slow, steady atmosphere, a small discovery begins to rise, not like a shocking revelation, but like a quiet realization you have while watching rain slide down a window. The discovery is this: some of the temple's power is not in what it believes, but in what it does. It is not only faith, it is method, not only devotion, it is structure, not only myth, it is practice, a space built to be stable, words built to be rhythmic, breath built to be steady, time measured patiently so the mind can stop clenching around it. In other words, the temple offers a kind of calm technology, a way of shaping experience through pattern. The scribe finishes the passage and lets silence return. The silence does not feel empty, it feels full, like a room after music ends, when the air still holds the last note. He folds the papyrus carefully, wraps it in linen, and places it back in the chest. He seals the lid again, not because he fears it will be taken, but because sealing is part of keeping. It is part of respect. It is part of continuity. He extinguishes the lamp with a small, controlled motion. The flame disappears without drama, leaving only a faint ribbon of smoke that curls upward and vanishes into darkness. Now the room is dim, lit only by distant lamps in the corridor. The scribe stands, stretches his shoulders, and for a moment he seems like any tired person at the end of a long day. Someone who has worked quietly, carefully, and now is ready to rest. As he steps back into the corridor, the temple's geometry guides him. Straight walls, quiet turns, soft light at intervals, a path you can follow without thinking too hard. And as we follow him, we carry that gentle discovery with us, that sometimes calm is not a gift that arrives from outside. Sometimes calm is built, stone by stone, habit by habit, breath by breath. In the next part of our journey, we will drift further along the river of centuries. We will see how texts like these traveled, how knowledge moved from papyrus to manuscript, from temple shelves to quieter places, carried not by conquest but by careful hands. We will stay close to the soft sounds, paper, footsteps, water, and the slow turning of time. For now, let your mind rest in the shape of quiet. Let your breath find its own rhythm. And let the temple, with its steady lines, hold you gently for a little while longer. The corridor receives the scribe again, and the temple's inner calm settles around him like a familiar robe. Behind him, the small instrument room, built for silence, returns to darkness, holding the last trace of his low voice, the way a clay jar holds the scent of water. Ahead, lamps glow in patient intervals, and the floor remembers every footstep without ever complaining. He carries the chest back into the archive room, where shelves rise like quiet cliffs along the walls. Papyrus bundles rest in orderly stacks, each one tied with cord, each one labelled in ink that has learned how to endure. The air is dry and gentle. Dust hangs in a soft veil, not dirty, just present, like time itself, floating in the lamplight. For a moment, the scribe stands still, listening. There is the faint drip of the water clock somewhere nearby. There is the whisper of a reed curtain shifting in a barely there draught. There is the far, steady murmur of the Nile beyond stone walls. And there is, inside his own chest, the same steady rhythm you feel when you finally stop trying to outrun the day. He sets the chest on a shelf, neither hidden nor displayed, then reaches for a fresh sheet of papyrus. The night's work continues, simple as breath. He copies a few lines from an older scroll, his pen moving with the practiced patience of someone who knows that preservation is not a single heroic act, but an ordinary kindness repeated many times. And yet even in this steadiness, change arrives, not as a crash, not as a threat. Change arrives the way the river changes, quietly, season by season, leaving new silt behind, altering the shoreline by a finger's width, and teaching everyone to adapt without panic. Outside these walls, years will pass, then decades, then centuries, sliding by like long shadows over stone. The temple will remain, but the world around it will shift. Cities will grow, then soften. Languages will mingle and drift. New customs will settle on old ground, not always with conflict, often simply with time. And in the archive room, the same reality will be felt in a quieter way. Papyrus ages, it dries, it becomes brittle. Ink fades at the edges like a shoreline touched by wind. Even in the best conditions, plant fiber is a patient, fragile thing. So the keepers of knowledge do what keepers have always done. They copy from papyrus to fresh papyrus, and later when materials change, they copy to smoother surfaces, parchment made from carefully prepared skins, or pages bound together into a codex, something that looks more like the books you know today. The shape changes, but the intent stays the same, to keep the words from slipping away. If you listen closely to this long process, you can almost hear it as a rhythm of hands. Unroll, read, dip the pen, write, pause, breathe, roll again. Later, open the codex, smooth the page, write the same line, let it dry, close the cover. Over and over, quiet work laid on quiet work, like weaving. In one generation, the scribes wear linen and sit in temple rooms cooled by stone. In another, the keepers sit in smaller chambers, perhaps attached to houses or workshops, where the scent of ink mixes with the scent of bread. In another, the texts travel farther, carried along the Nile in reed boats, wrapped in cloth, sealed in chests that look very much like the one you've been following. Because knowledge in Egypt does something the river teaches it to do. It migrates, not in panic, not in drama, but with a careful instinct for safety. When a place becomes too loud, the bundles move to a quieter room. When a city grows crowded, a chest travels upriver. When dust or damp threatens a shelf, a scroll is rewrapped, resealed, relabeled, and placed somewhere steadier. There are nights, soft, ordinary nights, when the archive keepers speak in low voices and decide, gently, that certain things should be stored farther from open corridors, not because they are forbidden, but because they are delicate, not because they are dangerous, but because they require a particular kind of quiet to be understood. Imagine one such night. The temple is still, but you can sense a change in the air beyond its walls, more footsteps in the streets, more voices, more movement. Nothing you need to fear, just the growing restlessness that sometimes surrounds any old place in a living world. The keepers do not argue with it. They simply respond the way water responds to a stone. They prepare. A small group gathers in the archive room with lamps held low. They wrap papyrus bundles in linen. They tie cords, not too tight. They press seals into soft clay, plain, calm marks that say, kept, not forgotten. They carry the chests with both hands, as if carrying a sleeping child. And then, near midnight, they move. Down the corridor, through the courtyard, toward the river path where reeds whisper in the dark. The Nile waits, wide and patient, reflecting a sky full of quiet stars. A boat is ready, its wood dark, its oars resting like folded wings. The men step in carefully, balancing weight the way you balance your mind when you're trying not to wake someone in the next room. The chests are placed in the center, wrapped, secure, safe. A lantern glows at the bow, but its light is muted, not bright enough to disturb the night. The boat pushes off. The oars dip, splash, lift, drip, splash, lift, drip. And for a while, the world becomes only water and rhythm. If your day has been full of noise, you may feel something in you soften at this image. The way your thoughts become less sharp when you watch a steady pattern. The river does not demand attention, it simply carries. On the far bank, the land is darker, fewer lights, more quiet. A low building sits among palm trees, simple, sturdy, and set back from the water. It could be a small temple or a storehouse, or later, when centuries have shifted the world, a modest monastery where people live by routines that resemble the old temple routines more than anyone might admit. Because the habit of keeping does not belong to one faith alone. It belongs to tired human hearts that know the value of quiet. Inside such a place there is often a room for writing, a table, a lamp, a shelf, a bowl of ink, hands that move slowly, eyes that squint softly in the lamplight. The gestures are familiar, even if the prayers spoken in the courtyard sound different now. The work remains steady, copying, preserving, passing forward. Sometimes the keeper pauses to sharpen the pen, listening to the tiny rasp against stone. Sometimes they warm their fingers over the lamp, then lay them back on the page. The ink smells slightly metallic, slightly sweet. A single moth circles the flame, slow and drowsy, then settles on the wall. Outside, the river keeps moving, and the building breathes with it in a steady, unhurried rhythm. And somewhere in this long flow of centuries, the texts you've been following are copied again, sometimes with small changes, sometimes with careful notes in the margins, sometimes simply repeated with devotion to accuracy. The phrases that function like breath patterns survive because they are useful to the mind. The descriptions of balance survive because they soothe. The sense of time as a quality survives because it matches what bodies already know. A good day, a quiet day, a watchful day. The world continues to shift, but the human nervous system continues to crave the same thing. A place to rest. Tonight, as you listen, you are part of that same long chain. You are not in a temple by the Nile, but you are in a room of your own, under your own ceiling, with your own lamp or screen dimmed low. You are doing what people have always done at night, seeking a rhythm that can hold you, Here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. And maybe that is why the keepers carried the chest so carefully, because they understood that knowledge is not only for the busy daytime mind. Some knowledge is for the nighttime mind, knowledge that calms, knowledge that balances, knowledge that gives you a sense that the world has patterns you can lean on. The boat reaches the far bank, the chests are lifted out, footsteps press into cool mud, then onto dry ground. The group walks toward the low building, where a door opens without squeaking. Inside, the air is even cooler. The lamps are fewer. The silence is thicker but comforting. A storage room waits behind a curtain. Shelves, boxes, bundles. A faint smell of linen and wood. The chest is placed on a high shelf, away from the floor's damp, away from wandering hands, away from bright light. Someone ties a simple tag to it, a few words in ink. Nothing dramatic, just a reminder for future keepers. For the hours when silence is needed. The door closes softly, the curtain falls back into place. The lamp outside the room is turned down until its flame is only a small ember, and the knowledge inside its seal sleeps. In the next part of our gentle journey, we will open that sleeping knowledge a little further. We will look at how words that were not prayers could still shape the air and the body, and why geometry, so steady, so exact, might have felt like a promise made in stone. We will do it slowly, with space between the sentences, the way scribes left space between symbols. For now, let the image linger, a chest on a shelf across the river, safe in a quiet room, while the Nile moves outside like a patient lullaby. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. The room across the river is cooler than the temple archive, and that coolness feels like a promise. Even in the softest heat of Egypt, stone can learn to hold night inside it. The walls here are thick and plain. The ceiling is low enough to make the air feel gathered, as if silence itself has been stored. A single lamp burns in the outer hallway, turned down until the flame is more ember than fire. Its light reaches the storage room only in a narrow ribbon, just enough to show the outline of shelves and the gentle curves of wrapped bundles. On one of those shelves, the chest rests again, sealed and patient. If you imagine standing there, you might notice how your body responds to a place like this. The shoulders drop, the eyes stop scanning. The mind, so used to watching for the next demand, finds fewer things to hold on to. It begins naturally to let go. The keeper of this place is not in a hurry. He moves as if he knows that speed breaks fragile things. He brings his lamp closer, shielding the flame with his hand. He lifts the chest down with both hands and sets it on a table that has been smoothed by years of quiet work. The table holds faint scratches, small, honest marks left by reed pens and knives used to cut cords. These are the marks of people who have lived by patience. The seal gives with a soft snap. Inside, the linen bundle waits, folded like a small sleeping animal. The keeper unwraps it gently, letting the cloth fall open without a sound. The papyrus within looks older now, not because time has harmed it, but because time has made it more delicate. The fibers are dry, light as a leaf. The ink is steady, but the edges of the lines have softened, as if the words themselves have been breathing for centuries. He lays the papyrus flat. He does not speak yet. First, he simply sits with it, allowing the room's quiet to settle over his thoughts. That quiet is not empty. It is a kind of readiness, like the pause before a lullaby begins. When he finally reads, his lips move only slightly. Some phrases are familiar to him, learned from other copies, other nights, other keepers. Other phrases are unusual, arranged in patterns that are less like conversation and more like instruction. The most gentle discovery of the night begins to take shape here. These words are not asking the universe for permission. They are shaping a condition. They work the way music works, by repetition, by cadence, by breath. If you have ever listened to someone speak in a calm, steady tone, you know how your body responds before your mind even understands. The shoulders unclench, the belly softens. The heart rate slows, almost as if it recognizes a safe rhythm. That is not magic exactly, it is the nervous system doing what it was designed to do, matching itself to the environment. The keeper begins to speak the words aloud, very softly, as if he is speaking to the room itself. The phrases come in measured lengths: a line, a pause, a line, another pause. The pauses are important, they are not empty gaps. They are part of the pattern, like the spaces between waves, like the hush between notes in a song. You may notice your own breathing right now just because the story has mentioned breath. You don't need to change anything. But if you'd like, you can let your exhale lengthen a little, as if you are slowly fogging a window with warmth. Inhale gently. Exhale gently. Let the next inhale come when it comes. In this quiet room, the words continue. Some of them describe balance, not as a moral verdict, but as an alignment, a steadiness, a return. The ancient Egyptian sense of order, ma'at, can be felt here without needing to be explained like a lecture. It is simply the idea that the world has a preferred shape, the way water prefers level, the way a loose thread prefers to be woven back into cloth. The keeper's voice does not rise, it does not plead, it does not threaten, it repeats. And repetition, in the night, can be a kind of balm. He speaks a phrase that returns again later, almost unchanged. Then he speaks it again with one small variation, an added word, a shifted cadence. The effect is subtle, like a tide that keeps arriving at the same shore but leaves the sand arranged slightly differently each time. On the table, beside the papyrus, lies another object, a small board scratched with a grid. It is not decoration, it is a guide for proportion, a reminder that the written symbols must keep their balance too. Even letters here are asked to be steady. Even ink must practice ma'at. The keeper glances at the grid, then returns to the papyrus and continues. If you could look over his shoulder, you might notice that some symbols are arranged in a way that feels almost architectural. Columns of signs, repeated forms, a careful spacing that lets the page breathe. The page itself becomes a room, the margin becomes a wall, the blank space becomes a corridor where the eyes can walk slowly. This is one reason the words do not feel sharp or demanding. The visual rhythm supports the spoken rhythm. Everything works together to create a condition, steadiness. Later people, far away in time, would sometimes describe practices like this as silent operations, as if the temple's power worked without the need for loud belief. But in this room, the phrase can be held more softly. It does not need to feel threatening. It can simply mean a craft performed in quiet, a method that relies on pattern, a practice that uses the body, breath, voice, attention to guide the mind back towards center. The keeper reaches for a second sheet, a newer copy written on smoother material. It might be parchment, or it might be a later papyrus, carefully prepared. He places it beside the old one. He dips his pen into ink. He begins to copy. Copying is a peaceful act when it is not rushed. He writes a symbol, then pauses to let the ink settle. He writes the next symbol and breathes out. The line grows slowly, like a path appearing in moonlight. He does not think about finishing quickly. He thinks about keeping the line steady. The sound in the room is small. Scratch of pen, faint shift of cloth, the keeper's breathing. In the hallway, the lamp makes a soft, almost inaudible hiss. Somewhere farther away, water moves. The whole world seems to be speaking in whispers. As he copies, he occasionally murmurs the words under his breath. Not because he needs to perform them, but because the sound helps him keep the cadence, like counting steps on a staircase, like humming while stirring soup, like whispering a child's name until sleep arrives. This is another quiet discovery. Language can be used not only to communicate, but to regulate. On a nearby shelf, a thin calendar list is tucked between larger bundles, like a bookmark in the library of night. It divides days into simple moods, favorable, quiet or watchful, less like superstition and more like a breathing schedule. Some mornings invite effort. Some evenings ask for gentleness. The keeper smiles at this because the body already knows it. Tonight, he chooses the slowest pace, letting the room do what the calendar suggests: soften, settle, and restore again. In your own life, you may have noticed something similar. Some sentences tighten you, other sentences loosen you. Some voices make you bristle. Other voices make you feel safe. Your body listens first, meaning comes later. The keeper finishes a passage and sets the pen down. He flexes his fingers gently, then rubs them together to restore warmth. He looks at the old papyrus again, and his expression is calm. There is no triumph in his face. Only gratitude. The quiet gratitude of someone who has been trusted with something fragile. He folds the older sheet, wraps it in linen, and places it back in the chest. Then he places the newer copy on top, as if giving the old words a fresh bed to rest upon. Before closing the lid, he pauses. In that pause, the story offers you another small question, soft enough not to wake you. Have you ever noticed how certain routines, small, ordinary routines, can feel like a doorway into calm? A warm drink, a dimmed lamp, the same song at night, the same pillow, the same way you turn your phone face down, finally, and let the day stop reaching for you. The keepers of these texts lived in worlds that changed, but they kept their calm by returning to structure. Their structure was ink and breath, geometry and cadence, the slow drip of measured time. Your structure might be different, but the need beneath it is the same, the need to feel held. The keeper closes the chest. The lid settles without a thud. He presses the seal gently, not to lock it away in fear, but to mark it as cared for. Then he lifts the chest back to the shelf and slides it into its familiar place. He steps back. The room returns to its deeper quiet. And something else returns too, something inside you perhaps, that recognizes the comfort of being guided by steady patterns. In the next part of our journey, we will move outward from this room and look at the larger spaces that held these practices. Halls aligned to stars, corridors that guided sound, stone that kept a temperature and a mood. We will feel how geometry itself became a kind of lullaby, and how the people who built such places were, in their own way, builders of rest. For now, let the last image be simple: a chest sealed on a shelf, 2 copies of the same calm words nestled together, and a lamp in the hallway turned down until it is only a small, steady ember. Outside, the Nile continues to move as it always has, quietly, faithfully, carrying moonlight on its surface like a thin veil of silver. Inside, the storage room across the river grows still again, as if it has taken a long, slow breath and decided to keep it. The keeper has gone to rest. The lamp in the hallway has been turned down until it is only a small ember of light. The shelves hold their bundles the way a winter tree holds its leaves in memory, still patient, unbothered. The sealed chest remains in its familiar place, not calling, not demanding, simply existing as proof that something tender can be kept safe. And as the night deepens, our story widens, because those words, measured, repeated, shaped by breath, did not belong only to one room. They were part of a larger language of steadiness, a language written not only in ink, but in stone. In Egypt, stone was never only weight. Stone could be a promise, a straight line could be a reassurance, a measured angle could feel like someone saying softly, "The world can be made stable." Imagine now that we leave the small storage room and return, gently, toward a larger temple, one built with the same quiet intention. We walk through palm shadows and along a path where sand holds warmth from the day. The air is cooler now, stars are brighter. Each one seems to sit in its place with calm certainty. If your mind has been restless, you might let your gaze, your inner gaze, settle on those stars. Notice how they do not rush. Notice how they do not compete. Notice how they simply are, fixed points of light in a wide, dark sea. People in ancient Egypt watched the sky the way a tired person watches a clock at night, not with panic, but with attention. The sky was not entertainment, it was guidance, a pattern that repeated, a schedule written far above the noise of daily life. And so temples were often built with an awareness of that pattern, doorways aligned, corridors oriented, light entering at certain moments of the year, touching certain stones the way a fingertip touches a familiar object in the dark, not to shock, not to impress, but to create a feeling of rightness, of being in tune with something larger. We step into the temple courtyard again. It is late. The air smells faintly of cool stone and distant water. A few lamps remain lit, low and steady, leaving the corners soft. The columns stand like quiet guardians, not frightening, not stern, just present. Their repeated shapes create a rhythm for the eyes, the way repeated phrases create rhythm for the mind. The ground beneath your feet, if you imagine it, feels firm and even. It does not wobble. It does not surprise you. It gives your body a simple message: you are supported. And that message matters more than we often realize. In modern life, the ground can feel metaphorically uneven. One day is fine, the next day is uncertain. Plans change, messages arrive late at night, news breaks while you're trying to drink a quiet cup of coffee. The mind learns to brace itself, always. But in a space built with careful geometry, bracing becomes less necessary. The angles stay the same, the proportions stay the same. The building does not shift moods, it simply holds you. We move through a corridor where the walls are straight and close enough to feel containing, like being inside a calm thought. The stone absorbs sound. Footsteps soften. Even a cough feels too loud, and so the body naturally becomes quieter, as if the architecture is teaching it how to behave. Along the corridor, you pass small niches where lamps sit. Their flames are protected from drafts, so they don't flicker dramatically. They breathe. Each one offers a small island of light, and between islands there is shadow, gentle shadow, like a pause between sentences. At the end of the corridor, there is a chamber. It is not large, it is not ornate, but it is exact. The corners meet cleanly. The ceiling is level, the doorway is centered, and the room carries a kind of silence that feels shaped, not accidental. Silence made by design. A temple attendant, someone whose role is not to preach but to maintain, walks through with a small bundle in his hands. Perhaps it is a cloth for cleaning. Perhaps it is a simple tool for measuring. He moves slowly, the way you move in a room where someone is sleeping. He checks a line carved into the wall, a reference mark, a guide. He checks the placement of a small basin. He checks the lamp, adjusts the wick, and lets the flame settle into steadiness. Then he pauses, and in his pause you can feel the heart of this place. It is built to support Ma'at, not as a punishment system, not as a courtroom verdict, but as a preference for balance. The way a well-made bed invites the body to lie down. The way a quiet room invites the mind to stop gripping. The way a deep exhale invites the nervous system to release. If you want, take a soft exhale now. Just let it spill out gently, and imagine it sinking into the stone floor, as if the building itself is receiving it. Farther away from the temple, beyond the city lights, there are larger shapes on the horizon, shapes that look like sleeping mountains under starlight. Pyramids. It's easy, in modern imagination, to make pyramids dramatic, to treat them as riddles, conspiracies, symbols of fear or obsession. But tonight, we will treat them differently. Tonight, they are quiet geometry in the desert. They are the idea of steadiness made visible. Imagine approaching them at night. The sand is cool underfoot, the sky is vast, the stars are crisp. The pyramid rises from the desert like a calm thought rising from silence. Solid, simple, unhurried. No flashing lights, no crowds, just stone, angled upward, meeting the sky in a point that feels like a whisper. You walk closer, and the blocks become clearer. Each stone is worn, not by violence, but by time. Wind brushing the surface, grains of sand polishing edges, the desert slowly smoothing what was once sharp. If you place your hand against the stone in your imagination, it is cool, steady, unmoving. And that steadiness can do something to your mind. It can remind you that not everything changes at the same speed. Some things are allowed to be slow, some things are allowed to be constant. There is a detail that people sometimes mention about these structures, how precisely they were aligned, how carefully the angles were held, but we don't need to turn that into a lecture. We can hold it like a small pebble of wonder in the palm. Just imagine this. Humans with tired hands and steady routines, aligning stone with such care that the shape feels inevitable, like it always belonged there. Not because they wanted to impress you, a distant listener in the future, but because they understood something about calm. Precision can be soothing. Not the precision of pressure, not the precision of perfectionism, but the precision of a room being tidy, a shelf being organized, a candle being placed where it gives the gentlest light. The precision of a quiet life arranged with intention. And perhaps this is the soft twist we've been circling, that some ancient power was simply the power of structure, a space built to hold silence, a rhythm built to hold breath, a calendar built to hold the day, a pyramid built to hold the horizon. As you stand in the desert night, looking up at the slanted face of the pyramid, you may notice how your thoughts slow. The mind cannot argue with such stillness. It can only soften around it. A faint breeze moves across the sand. It makes a sound like a whisper passing over cloth. The stars above remain steady. The pyramid remains steady. And in that moment you might feel the smallest sense of relief, as if the world is larger than your worries, and therefore your worries do not have to fill the whole world. If your mind wants to wander, let it wander along the edges of this shape. Let it trace the line upward, slowly, without effort. Let it return down, slowly, like a lullaby drawn in stone. Somewhere far behind you in a temple archive, a scribe might be finishing a line of ink. Somewhere across the river, a keeper might be sealing a chest again. Somewhere nearby, water might be dripping in a clock, marking the hours with patient drops. All of these are different forms of the same kindness, continuity. And continuity at night can feel like safety. Now gently, we begin to move back from the desert horizon. We return toward the temple, toward the rooms that shape sound and breath. We carry with us the feeling of geometry as a promise, straight lines that do not betray you, angles that do not suddenly change, structures that hold their steady tone. In the next part of our journey, we will listen more closely to the people inside these spaces, not their dramas, not their conflicts, but their quiet daily acts. We will watch how the silent arts were practiced in ordinary routines, arranging, repeating, choosing the right moment, and letting the mind settle into balance the way water settles into a level bowl. For now, let the pyramid remain in your mind like a distant, calm silhouette, unchanging, patient, and quietly reassuring under the endless sky. The pyramid fades behind us, not disappearing, but settling into the background of the mind like a steady note held under a song. We return to the inhabited spaces again, courtyards, corridors, lamplit rooms, where ordinary people do ordinary tasks and where calm is built from small, repeatable motions. In the temple before dawn, the air is cool enough to feel clean. A faint blue begins to gather at the edge of the sky, and the stones, still holding night, offer their quiet chill to anyone who passes. An attendant moves through the courtyard with a broom made of bundled reeds. The sound it makes against the ground is soft, like sand brushing cloth. He sweeps slowly, not because anyone is watching, but because the day begins better when the space begins in order. A second attendant carries a jar of water. He pours a little into a shallow basin, then watches the surface settle. The water stills, the last ripples dissolve, and he seems satisfied, as if the simple sight of level water is a small lesson in math. Balance can be that simple. Not an argument, not a verdict, just the way things return when they are given time. Along the inner hallway, a lamp is adjusted. The wick is trimmed. The flame becomes steady. The light grows softer, less sharp. If you have ever lowered the brightness on your phone at night, or turned a lamp toward a wall so the room glows without glare, you already know this instinct. The Egyptians knew it too. The right light changes the mind. In a side room, a young scribe warms his hands over a small brazier. He does not rush to begin. He waits for his fingers to become supple. Then he sits, unfolds his writing board, and places a fresh sheet of papyrus before him. The papyrus smells faintly of dried plants, sun, and clean dust. He inhales, he exhales, he begins. The work is not dramatic, it is not a race, it is the quiet work of keeping. He copies a list of measurements, grain stored, jars counted, river height recorded in careful marks. The numbers are not there to impress anyone, they are there to keep the community steady. A storehouse that is measured does not panic. A harvest that is recorded can be shared. A year that is tracked can be planned. And planning for a human heart is one of the gentlest antidotes to fear. If your own mind has felt anxious lately, you may recognize this. Anxiety often comes from uncertainty, from the sense that you cannot see what is coming. A small structure, a list, a routine, a plan for tomorrow's breakfast can calm the body more than any grand philosophy. The temple's routines are, in this way, deeply human. A door opens in the corridor. A figure steps through, robed in linen, carrying a narrow strip of papyrus like a note passed quietly in class. He gives it to the scribe. The scribe reads, nods, and places it on a stack. There is no urgent whispering, no alarm, only the slow cooperation of people who have learned to keep their movements gentle. A little farther inside the temple, another room waits, one you can imagine as both office and sanctuary. Here, the day's calendar is consulted, not with superstition, but with rhythm. The keeper runs a finger down the page and pauses at the current date. Favorable, a day for tending what is already planted, a day for finishing what was started yesterday, a day for speaking kindly, for moving with steadiness, for choosing the path that does not fray the nerves. He sets the calendar aside, and with that simple gesture, the day becomes a little softer. The temple is waking now. Footsteps pass in the courtyard. A low murmur of voices rises and fades. Somewhere, a bell-like sound is made, perhaps a small piece of metal touched lightly, or a stone tapped once to mark a moment. But even this sound is restrained. It does not startle. It merely notices the passage of time. In the archive room, our familiar chest is still safe on its shelf. The sealed bundles around it feel like sleeping birds. Dust floats in the light as the sun finally reaches the high openings and sends thin beams across the shelves. The beams move slowly like the hands of a clock made of sunlight. A senior scribe enters, and with him comes an atmosphere of calm authority. Not the authority of threat, but the authority of experience. He checks the shelves with a glance the way you might check that your doors are locked before bed. Routine, not fear. He pauses at the chest, touches the seal lightly, and then moves on. Keeping is a devotion, yes, but it is also a craft. Later, as the sun rises higher, the temple receives visitors, farmers, boatmen, mothers, traders, people with questions and needs. They do not come for spectacle. They come because the temple helps life run smoothly. It measures the flood. It notes the seasons. It keeps the records that allow a community to breathe. A farmer arrives with worry in his face, worried that the flood will be too low, that the soil will not drink enough, that the year will be thin. He speaks quietly to an attendant. The attendant listens without hurry. He asks a few questions. He points toward a ledger. He traces a line of recorded river heights from past years, showing the farmer that variation is normal, that the river has always had moods, and that people have always adapted. The farmer's shoulders lower a little. Not because his problem has vanished, but because his mind has been given a shape it can hold. What a gentle kind of help that is. Help that does not promise miracles, only steadiness. If you've ever felt better after someone calmly explained what was happening, at work, at the doctor, in a difficult season of life, you understand this temple's skill. Calm is contagious when it is offered with patience. In the afternoon, when heat presses against the outer walls, the inner rooms remain cooler. The temple becomes a refuge not only of spirit but of body. People move more slowly, conversations become fewer. The world naturally reduces its speed, and in that slower pace, the silent arts can appear again, not as secret drama but as quiet technique. An attendant arranges a small set of objects on a table, a bowl, a cloth, a carved symbol, a lamp. He aligns them with care, not because he believes the objects are alive, but because alignment itself creates a feeling of rightness. The mind loves symmetry. The body loves predictability. The room loves a steady glow rather than a flickering glare. He speaks a short sequence of words, low and even. He repeats them. He pauses. He repeats them again. The words are not a plea, they are a pattern. They settle the air. They settle his breathing. They settle the room. And if you listen closely, you may notice something tender. These practices are not only for the gods, they are for the people doing them. They are a way of regulating the nervous system long before anyone used that modern phrase. Evening arrives again, bringing the gentler light. The sun lowers. Shadows lengthen. The courtyard becomes gold and then amber. The air cools. The temple's work shifts toward quiet. As twilight deepens, a small group gathers near the water clock. One person lifts the lid and checks the level, then listens for the drop that follows the drop. The sound is tiny, but it organizes the darkness. Drop, pause, drop, pause. A young attendant smiles almost sleepily because the rhythm feels like a heartbeat you can trust. Near the doorway, a visitor waits, someone who has traveled by boat and will sleep in the outer court until morning. He wraps himself in a cloak, watches the lamps, and feels the day's worries loosen, little by little. The temple does not ask him to explain himself. It offers him structure, clean stone, low light, a predictable hush. If you have ever felt alone at night, you may know how healing it is to be in a place that simply holds you without questions. Here, no one rests alone. The past and the present share the same quiet air, and every careful gesture, every trimmed wick, every copied line becomes a soft way of saying, "You are safe to slow down." Let that thought be a small, steady lantern tonight. A scribe takes the chest down from the shelf. He carries it into the precise room we visited before, the room built to hold silence. He sits. He opens the lid. He unwraps the linen. He reads. And as he reads, he breathes with the words. If you are listening from a busy life, an American life filled with schedules and screens, let yourself borrow this simplicity. Inhale softly. Exhale slowly. Let the exhale be a little longer than the inhale, like lowering a boat into calm water. The scribe's voice is so low it is almost a hum. The room holds it. The stone shapes it. The repetition smooths it. The method does what it was designed to do. It returns the body toward balance. And that perhaps is the deepest gentleness of this story. Egypt's ancient calm was not only an idea, it was a set of practices, light adjusted, lists written, water measured, words repeated, rooms shaped, ordinary things done with extraordinary steadiness. Tonight you are allowed to do the same in your own way, a small adjustment of light, a slower breath, a thought set down, a rhythm returned to. If this room of the past feels comforting, let it. You do not have to believe in everything to benefit from its steadiness. You only have to feel the pattern. In the next part of our journey, we will follow the texts farther along their river of time into new languages, new hands, new quiet rooms where the same methods survive in softened forms. We will keep the suspense gentle, like a lantern carried low, and we will continue walking slowly toward deeper rest, long after the temple courtyards have cooled and warmed through countless seasons, long after the same lamps have been trimmed by hands that never met each other. The Nile keeps doing what it does best. It carries silt and reeds and small boats, yes, but also people, habits, and ideas. It carries the soft human wish to make life feel steady. And it carries too the tucked away bundles of writing that keep returning again and again to safe shelves. Tonight our journey follows that river of time a little farther, not into noise, not into conflict, just into a wider world where the same calm methods begin to wear new clothing. Imagine the city of Alexandria at night. Not the dramatic Alexandria of conquest and rumor, but the quiet Alexandria that exists in between the day's commotion and the next morning's chores. The harbor settles. The last voices of traders fade into distance. The sea becomes darker, calmer, and the air holds the faint smell of salt, lamp oil, and stone that has been warmed by sun. Somewhere outside, a cat crosses a rooftop, and the sound of its paws is almost nothing at all. In a narrow street, a door closes softly. Inside, a room is lit by a single lamp. Shelves line one wall. On those shelves are scrolls and codices, some written in Greek, some in Egyptian scripts, some in hands so careful you can feel the patience in every curve. A scholar sits at a table. He is not a hero. He is not in a hurry. He is simply someone who has chosen the quiet life of looking closely. A cup of water rests near his elbow. A small weight keeps a page from curling. Outside, the city breathes in sleep, and inside, the scholar breathes with the page. He is working with a text that has traveled. Maybe it came by boat, wrapped in linen. Maybe it came through a chain of hands, a keeper in a riverside storehouse, a scribe in a cool inner room, a messenger who walked slowly to avoid shaking the bundle. However it arrived, it now lies open under lamplight, and its symbols look both familiar and foreign. The scholar traces a line with his finger. He does not speak the words at once. First, he listens to the spacing, to the rhythm implied by the way the signs are arranged. He knows, as any careful reader knows, that meaning is not only in what is said, but in how it moves. Then he begins to translate. This too is a kind of keeping. Translation is like carrying water in a different jar. The water is the same, but the vessel changes the way it feels in the hand. Some phrases do not fit perfectly, some images shift slightly, and yet with patience, the essence can remain. The scholar writes a Greek phrase, then pauses, reading it aloud in a low voice to hear its cadence. He adjusts a word. He adjusts the length of a sentence. He is not seeking cleverness, he is seeking steadiness, because he can sense something delicate in the original, a pattern that works on the body. Words that were not prayers yet still belonged to the night. He wants to preserve not only their information, but their function. He experiments gently. He repeats a line in Greek, then listens to his own breath. Does the exhale lengthen? Does the mind soften? Does the line fall like water? Or does it clatter like stones? He tries again, slower, quieter, until the line begins to feel like the old one, like a measured path through darkness. If you have ever read a poem in translation and felt that it still moved you, even though you knew it came from another tongue, you understand this tender work. Something survives beyond vocabulary. Rhythm survives, attention survives, the intention to soothe survives. In another room, deeper in the building, a young assistant prepares fresh ink. He grinds pigment, adds water, stirs slowly. The small circles he makes with the mixing stick are like the circles your mind makes when you are tired, returning to the same thought until it finally lets go. He does not mind the repetition. Repetition is the atmosphere of this work. On a nearby shelf, a thin calendar list rests among larger texts. It divides the days into moods: favorable, quiet, watchful, a breathing schedule for life. The scholar smiles at it because even in Alexandria, even in a cosmopolitan city where languages mingle, the body still wants the same comfort. To know that some days ask for effort and some nights ask for softness. The lamp's flame leans slightly as a breeze finds a crack in the window frame. The scholar cups his hand around the light, shielding it. The flame steadies. His shoulders relax. Order restored not by force, but by attention. And attention, when offered gently, becomes a kind of medicine. Far away from this room, in a temple farther up the Nile, another scribe is still copying the original version line by line, preserving it in its own language. That is the beauty of the river of time. It does not require a single channel. Knowledge can exist in parallel currents, each one carrying the same calm toward different shores. Years pass, then more years. Then the scholar's copy becomes old, too. It is stored, then copied again. It travels, it rests, it travels again. In one season of history, the texts lived near bright public spaces, libraries, lecture rooms, places where people come during the day. In another season, they drift into quieter corners, private collections, workshops, small communities that prefer the night. And in those quieter corners, the silent operations survive not as a forbidden secret, but as a practical art, a way to shape the mind through pattern. Imagine a modest riverside building, again, simple walls, cool interior, a courtyard where a few plants grow in clay pots. The people who live here keep their days orderly and their nights calm. They rise with light. They work with their hands. They eat simply. And after evening, they read. In the reading room, the lamp is turned low. A reader opens a codex and begins to speak, not loudly, not for applause, but so the words can exist in air. He pauses at the end of each phrase. He lets silence settle between lines. He allows the listener's breathing to slow. You might notice, if you listen closely in your imagination, that the listeners are not analyzing, they are receiving. A phrase repeats, a phrase returns, a phrase stays. This is how a mind learns safety, by predictable return. The reader's voice moves like a small boat on still water. The listener's thoughts drift behind it, no longer tugging toward tomorrow's worries. A woman seated near the wall rests her hand on her own forearm, feeling the warmth of her skin. A man leans his head back against stone and lets his jaw unclench. A younger person watches the lamp flame and feels their eyelids grow heavier. Here, no one rests alone. Even in a room full of silence, the shared rhythm becomes a kind of companionship. And it is in such rooms, quiet rooms, night rooms, that certain ideas become timeless, not because they are argued into permanence, but because they are useful. Mahat, for instance, survives as a feeling even when the word changes. The idea that the world prefers balance remains like a riverbed beneath changing water. People may name it differently, they may place it in different stories, but they still know it in their bones. When things are level, the body can rest. So too with geometry. A corridor aligned, a lamp placed carefully, a page spaced with breath, a chant spoken in measured cadence. These are not only religious gestures, they are nervous system gestures, human gestures, gestures of care. At some point in this long journey, a keeper makes a small note in the margin of a copied text. It is not a dramatic note, it is almost tender in its simplicity. He marks where to pause, he marks where to breathe, not as performance instructions, but as a reminder that the words work best when they are allowed to fall slowly. It is a small act, and yet it carries a great kindness forward, an invitation to read as if you are rocking a cradle. If you're listening tonight with a mind that wants to do too much, consider this as your own margin note. Pause here, breathe here. Let the story do the carrying. Now in the softened glow of this part of the tale, the chest appears again. Not necessarily the same wooden chest, but the idea of it. The idea of keeping something quiet and safe while the world changes around it. A bundle wrapped in linen, a seal pressed in clay, a shelf chosen because it is dry and cool. A human hand resting for a moment on a lid, as if saying softly, sleep. And there is still a gentle question humming under everything. If these words can travel through centuries, changing language but keeping rhythm, what might your own small rituals carry forward? Perhaps you have a nightly habit you do without thinking, turning the light down, filling a glass of water, checking the door, smoothing the blanket. Perhaps you have a phrase you whisper to yourself, not as a prayer exactly, but as a function. I am safe. It is enough. Tomorrow can wait. If so, you are closer to those scribes than you might imagine. In the next part of our journey, we will return to the heart of the method once more, the way time itself was treated as a tool. We will listen to the water clock, the shadow clock, the calendar's gentle categories, and the way choosing the right moment can feel like choosing the right breath. For now, let Alexandria's night fade into the background. Let the lamp glow low. Let the page rest. Let your thoughts drift. And let the river keep carrying quietly, without end. There is a kind of peace that arrives when time stops feeling like a threat. Not the peace of finishing everything, not the peace of having no responsibilities, but the quieter peace of knowing that time can be held for a moment, like a smooth pebble warmed in the palm. In the ancient world we've been wandering through, time was not only a river, it was also a tool, measured, tended, and quietly respected. Tonight, we return to the sound of time being measured, not a loud alarm, not a digital chime, but a drop of water, patient and steady. Imagine a small room near the temple's inner corridor. The light is dim, turned down to keep the air calm. A vessel sits on a stone stand shaped with care. Wide at the top, narrowing toward a small opening. Water passes through that opening and falls drop by drop into a lower bowl. Drop, pause, drop. The sound is so soft you could miss it if you were speaking, and that is exactly the point. This is a clock made for quiet. It doesn't demand attention. It simply offers a rhythm to anyone who needs one. If you'd like, let your breathing find that rhythm for a moment. Inhale easily, exhale a little longer. Let the pause be gentle. You don't have to count, just feel the steady return. A keeper steps in barefoot on cool stone and checks the water level. He adjusts the vessel slightly, ensuring the flow remains even. He is not anxious, he is careful. His hands move as if he has done this many nights before. And he has, because temples are built on repetition, and repetition is a kind of shelter. Beside the water clock, on a wall that catches sunlight during the day, a different instrument waits. A shadow marker. Lines are carved into stone where the sun's angle will fall. In the afternoon, the shadow will move slowly, brushing one line and then the next. In the morning, it will do the same, like a patient hand sweeping across a table. The two clocks, water and shadow, feel like companions. One belongs today, one belongs tonight. Together they say something simple. Time is not an enemy. Time is a pattern, and patterns can soothe. In the modern world, time can feel like pressure. Meetings stack. Messages arrive. The calendar fills. And at night, when you finally try to rest, your mind may keep reaching forward, the next hour, the next task, the next consequence. If that's familiar, you are not alone. Many people come to sleep stories for this very reason, to loosen the mind's grip on time. Here, in the temple, the keepers approached time differently. They didn't try to conquer it. They tried to cooperate with it. They chose moments. Not because the universe demanded a perfect second, but because the human heart responds to timing. There are moments when a word lands softly and moments when it lands like a stone. There are moments when a room feels ready and moments when it feels restless. There are moments when the body can settle and moments when it still needs to move. The calendar lists we've met before, those gentle categories of favorable, quiet, and watchful, were one way of naming this. But naming is only the beginning. The deeper practice is listening, noticing what kind of time it is. At dusk, a senior attendant stands near the water clock. Outside, the sun is lowering and the air cools. Inside, the temple darkens by degrees. He listens for the drop and waits until the drops become the main sound in the room. That is his signal. Not dramatic, just practical. The world has softened enough. He walks down the corridor toward the precise chamber, the one built to hold sound. He carries a small lamp, shielding the flame from drafts. His steps are slow, as if stepping through a sleeping house. Inside the chamber, he places the lamp low. He sits on a woven mat. He lets his shoulders fall. He closes his eyes for a moment and listens, not for prophecy, not for a voice beyond the walls, but for his own breathing. When he opens his eyes again, he begins to speak a sequence of words, measured phrases that match breath. The words are not shouted, they are not hurried. They are shaped to fit the moment because the moment is part of the method. If you think about your own nights, you may notice a right moment for rest too. Sometimes it arrives after you've brushed your teeth, sometimes after you've lowered the lights, sometimes after you finally put the phone down and let the last glow fade. The moment can't be forced, it can only be invited. The attendant pauses between phrases, letting the room hold the sound. He listens, not for a God to answer, but for the atmosphere to change, a subtle settling, a quietening of thoughts, a loosening in the chest. This is the kind of power we are exploring tonight, the power of conditions, the power of arranging the world so the nervous system can sigh. Behind the wall, the water clock continues. Drop. Pause, drop. The attendant's voice continues. Phrase, pause, phrase. In this alternating rhythm, water and words, the temple becomes a cradle for the mind. A young apprentice sits nearby, learning not only the words but the pacing. He watches the attendant's shoulders. He listens to the length of the exhale. He observes the silence between lines, noticing that silence is not a mistake. Silence is a tool. He makes a note on a small scrap, where to pause, where to breathe. Not for performance, but for function. Later, when the apprentice returns to his own room, he carries the rhythm with him. He pours a cup of water. He sets it down. He sits on his mat. He repeats a phrase under his breath, almost like a lullaby. The room is plain, but the rhythm makes it feel safe. He feels his eyelids grow heavier, and he smiles faintly because the method works. This is how quiet knowledge survives, not only in texts, but in bodies. Inside the temple, the calendar for tomorrow is consulted, not as prophecy, but as a guide. A keeper traces the date and sees a mark. Quiet. A day for tending, not pushing. A day for finishing, not beginning. The keeper nods. He feels relief because permission to go slowly can be rare, and here it is, written down. If you'd like, you can give yourself that permission now. Even if tomorrow is busy, tonight can still be truly quiet. Tonight can be for loosening. Tonight can be for letting the mind stop gripping. What do you think it would feel like to live with time as a friend? Not always easy, but always honest. To feel the day's rhythm not as a chase, but as a tide. The question does not need an answer. It can simply sit beside you like the water clock's gentle drop. In another corridor, the shadow marker waits for morning. It is a humble thing, carved lines on stone, yet it carries a beautiful truth. Light moves slowly. Even the sun, with all its power, crosses the sky one measured step at a time. Sometimes, when we are tired, we forget that. We treat our own hearts as if they must sprint. We treat our minds as if they must solve everything tonight. But the shadow marker reminds us, movement can be slow and still be real. A scribe, finishing his work, rolls a scroll and ties it with cord. He places it on a shelf. He presses a seal lightly, not to lock it away in fear, but to mark it as cared for. He washes his hands in cool water. He feels the temperature, and it brings him into the present. Then he steps outside, where night air touches his face like a soft cloth. He looks up. Stars. So many stars. Each one steady. Each one silent. He thinks briefly of all the drops that will fall in the water clock tonight, and he feels comfort. Time will pass whether he worries or not. Better then to soften, better to cooperate. He stops at a small doorway where the stone is warmer, and he rests his palm there for a single heartbeat. In that touch, he feels how day and night trade places without argument. He hears, faintly, reed fronds brushing one another outside, and the sound reminds him of pages turning, soft, familiar, unhurried. A thin scent of bread drifts from a nearby home, and the great sweep of history becomes something small and human, someone kneading dough, someone pouring water, someone whispering to a child who is already half asleep. The scribe smiles almost without noticing. If you are listening from a busy life, you may know these small scenes too. A cup set down gently. A light dimmed. A message left unanswered until morning. A door checked once, then trusted. These are not grand rituals, but they are the places where calm gathers. The scribes understood that. Their peace was made of tiny choices repeated patiently. Each one saying quietly, "Now is the gentle moment." And as he walks on, he lets the night do the counting for him, one breath at a time. And so he walks home slowly, letting his thoughts unspool. He remembers the measured phrases, he remembers the pauses, he remembers Mahat not as judgment but as balance. He carries that balance into his own small life. In the next part of our journey, we will follow this idea of balance inward, into the private corners of human experience, fatigue, loneliness, the quiet ache of carrying too much. We will see how ancient calm can speak to modern nights and how the past can become a gentle companion rather than a heavy lesson. For now, let the water clock's rhythm be yours, drop by drop, breath by breath. Let each exhale be a small release. Let each pause be a soft landing. And if sleep comes, let it come without ceremony, like a boat drifting into shore. There is a point in the night when the outside world becomes quieter than the inside of your mind. The room around you may be still, the lights may be dim, the street may have settled, and yet thoughts can keep moving, small, quick footsteps in a hallway that never seems to end. Tomorrow's tasks, a conversation from earlier, a worry that doesn't have a clear shape, only a weight. If this is familiar, let it be familiar without shame. It is a human thing. It is what happens when a busy life asks the nervous system to stay alert for too long. In the ancient rooms we have been walking through, they did not have email, headlines, or glowing screens, but they did have the same human heart. They had fatigue, they had uncertainty, they had the quiet ache of wanting life to feel steady. That is why the story keeps returning to the same soft tools: rhythm, structure, and balance. Imagine now a small house near the river, not a grand temple, not a royal palace, just a modest home built of mud brick and stone, warm in the day and cool at night. A woven mat covers part of the floor. A clay jar sits near the wall. A lamp rests on a low table, its flame protected by a simple shade, so the light spreads gently and does not glare. The person in this house is not a priest of great importance. He is not a famous scholar. He is a keeper of ordinary days. He rises early. He works with his hands. He measures grain, repairs nets, carries water, speaks with neighbors, and returns home in the evening with dust on his sandals and tiredness behind his eyes. Tonight, he is tired in the same way you may be tired, not only in the body but in the mind that has carried too much. He closes the door. The outside sounds fall away, and the inside quiet arrives, soft but not instantly calming. He sets down a small bundle. He washes his hands in cool water. He feels the water run over his fingers and notices for a moment how real the present is. Water is always present. Water is always now. He dries his hands, lights the lamp, and sits. On the table is a small page, nothing dramatic, just a copy of a few lines he has heard before in the temple's quiet chamber. He keeps it because it helps. The lines are written with space between them, the way someone leaves space on purpose, so the eyes can rest. He reads the first phrase silently, then he speaks it, low and even, as if he is speaking to the air in the room. He pauses. He lets the pause be long enough for his chest to soften. Then he repeats, the phrase returns like a wave returning to shore. It does not bring news, it does not ask him to solve anything. It simply offers a pattern for his breathing. If you'd like, you can follow the same gentle pattern without copying any words at all. Just notice this. Your inhale arrives, your exhale leaves. Between them there is a small pause, a tiny place where nothing is required. In the modern world, we often live as if every pause must be filled. A podcast, a message, a scroll, another glance, another check. But ancient quiet was built on the opposite skill. Letting the pause be empty and letting empty become safe. The person by the lamp repeats his phrase again. He doesn't try to feel something special. He only keeps the rhythm steady. His shoulders drop 1 degree, his jaw loosens, the muscles behind his eyes release. He takes a slower breath without forcing it. Outside, the Nile moves in darkness. Inside, the lamp breathes light. Between them, the night holds him. And then, gently, his mind offers up what it has been holding, a worry. It is not a catastrophic fear. It is a plain worry. The flood might be lower this year, the grain might be thinner. A child in the neighborhood has been coughing. A friend looked tired lately. Life is life, even in ancient times. He notices the worry without wrestling it. He lets it be a shape in the room, like a shadow. He does not chase it away. He does not feed it. He simply returns to the pattern, phrase, pause, breath. This is the quiet art, not denial, not drama, just return. You might try the same with your own thoughts tonight. When a worry arrives, you don't have to debate it in the dark. You can place it on a shelf like a sealed chest, not forgotten, just kept safe until morning. In the temple, seals were a way of saying, this is preserved, this is contained, this will not spill into every corner. You can do that too, in your own way. Imagine a small box in your mind. Imagine placing the worry inside. Imagine closing the lid. Imagine a simple seal, not a lock of fear, but a mark of care. Now the worry can rest. The person at the table looks at the page again. The ink is slightly uneven, as if the scribe who copied it was tired. There is comfort in that. Perfection is not required. Steadiness is. He continues reading and speaking, letting the cadence guide him. At some point, he stands and adjusts the lamp. He lowers the flame a little. The room becomes softer. Shadows deepen gently, and the corners feel like they have been tucked in. If you're listening tonight, you might do the same in your own way. Let the light be kind. Let the sounds be fewer. Let your body know it is allowed to power down. He drinks a sip of water. The coolness spreads through him. He sets the cup down carefully, and the small sound of clay against wood is oddly satisfying. It is a sound that says nothing is urgent. He returns to his mat and lies down. The lamp is now so low it barely lights the page. He doesn't need the page anymore. The rhythm is inside him. As he lies there, he thinks of Maat, not as a lesson, but as a feeling. The day may have been uneven, but the night can be level. The mind may have been crowded, but the breath can be simple. The world may be uncertain, but the pattern can be steady. He closes his eyes. In the dark behind his eyelids, he imagines the temple's corridor, straight and calm. He imagines the water clock's drops. He imagines the shelves of papyrus, sealed and safe. He imagines the pyramid silhouette under stars. All of it becomes one quiet message. You are held by continuity. If tonight's story reminded you of a beautiful memory, feel free to share it below. And if you can't think of a memory, that is fine too. Sometimes the memory is simply the feeling of being safe for a moment. The person's breath slows, the pauses grow longer. The phrase he repeated earlier fades away, not lost, just absorbed into the body's own rhythm. Outside, the river keeps carrying the night, and somewhere, in a room across the water, a sealed chest rests on a shelf, waiting for another pair of hands in another century, another night, another weary heart that will open it gently and find, inside, the same calm pattern. Not a command, a companion, a soft lantern. Maybe you are listening from a city apartment where the day never fully turns off. Perhaps there is a distant hum of traffic, or the soft mechanical sigh of heating, or the small click of a refrigerator in the next room. Maybe your phone is face down on a table, but you can still feel its presence, like a tiny doorway back into urgency. If that is you, let this story meet you exactly where you are. Picture the modern version of that mud brick house, a bedroom with curtains drawn, a glass of water on a nightstand, a lamp turned low. You are a keeper of ordinary days too. You have measured and carried and decided and repaired in the ways your era demands. And sometimes the hardest part is not doing the work. It is putting the work down. So just for a few breaths, practice the ancient kindness of containment. Let tomorrow sit outside the door. Let unfinished tasks be wrapped in linen and tied with cord. Let worry be sealed, not to hide it, but to keep it from wandering through the whole house of your mind. Here, no one rests alone. Even if your room is quiet, even if you feel solitary, you are resting beside countless other listeners who are also letting go, one exhale at a time. And beyond them, you are resting beside the scribes and keepers of long ago, who also sat under low light, who also listened to water, who also hoped the world would be gentle enough to sleep in. If you want to, you can imagine a simple bridge between those nights. On one side, a scribe setting down a reed pen, rubbing his tired fingers and smiling faintly at the steadiness of the lamp. On the other side, you, adjusting your pillow, loosening your shoulders, allowing your breathing to slow. The bridge is not made of stone. It is made of rhythm. Inhale, exhale, pause, return. And when your thoughts drift, let them drift. When they return, let them return to the same calm place, like a boat that knows the shoreline in the dark. In our next step, we will follow that lantern into the far future of the story, into the quiet moment when someone, much later, realizes that these words were not only about gods or rituals, but about the simple human wish to feel balanced again. For now, let your own room become that inner chamber. Let your breath be the water clock. Let your thoughts be shelves. Let what matters be kept gently, and let sleep arrive in its own time. There are nights when the past feels like a distant museum, silent, sealed, and far away. And then there are nights when the past feels closer, like a warm hand on the shoulder, reminding you that other people have carried days like yours, and they found a way to set them down. Tonight, as our story moves toward its softer ending, we return once more to the shelf, to the sealed chest, to the quiet decision that something fragile deserves to be kept. Imagine the room across the river again. The air is cool, the walls are plain, and the lamp in the hallway is turned low, so it glows without glare. Dust floats slowly in the thin light, like tiny pieces of time drifting, unbothered. On the shelf, the chest waits. A new keeper arrives, years later, maybe decades. He is older than the apprentice we saw before, with hands that have learned steadiness through repetition. He does not come with urgency. He comes with the quiet confidence of someone who has learned that the night is not a problem to solve, but an atmosphere to enter. He lifts the chest down and places it on the table. His fingers rest on the seal for a moment, as if greeting an old friend. Then he breaks it gently and opens the lid. Inside, the linen is still folded with care. Inside, the papyrus is still there. Inside, the words are still arranged with space, as if they were designed to let tired eyes breathe. He unwraps the bundle and lays the page flat. He reads slowly, and you can see him listening as much as reading, listening to the pattern, to the pauses, to the way the lines want to move through air. Then he does something small and quietly meaningful. He closes his eyes. He sets one hand on his chest, right where breath rises and falls, and he begins to speak the words in a voice so low it barely leaves the room. Not as a performance, not as a demand, as a function, a phrase, then a pause, a phrase, then a longer pause, and as he speaks, something changes. Not the world outside, not the river, not the politics of whoever rules the cities now. What changes is the body. The shoulders drop, the jaw loosens, the belly softens, the breath lengthens as if it has finally been given permission. This is the gentlest revelation of all. The silent arts were never only about power. They were about relief. They were a way of teaching a human nervous system to return to center. The keeper opens his eyes and looks at the page again. He traces a single symbol with his fingertip, then smiles faintly. In the margin, someone long ago has made a tiny mark, an almost invisible dot, a small line. A reminder, pause here, breathe here. He nods as if he understands, and he follows the instruction. He pauses, he breathes. Outside, the Nile moves, steady and indifferent to human worries, and that steadiness becomes a comfort rather than a threat. If time will pass, no matter what, then there is no need to grip it so tightly. There is only the option to soften into it. He speaks another passage, and this one is about balance. Not balance as moral judgment, but balance as alignment. Water returning to level. A room returning to quiet. A heart returning to a pace it can live inside. Ma'at without argument. Ma'at as a feeling. In the hallway beyond the door, the low lamp makes a small sound, barely a hiss, like the quiet breath of oil becoming light. Somewhere deeper in the building, a pot cools after supper. A dog shifts in sleep and then becomes still again. The night is full of tiny movements that do not demand anything from you. The keeper listens to these small sounds, and for a moment he understands something else. The words on the page are not trying to pull the universe toward him. They are helping him join what is already here. The slow rhythm of things that simply continue. If you are listening tonight, from a life filled with notifications and deadlines, you might recognize how rare that feeling can be. The modern world is excellent at stimulation. It is not always excellent at steadiness, and so we borrow steadiness where we can find it. We borrow it from dim light. We borrow it from measured breath. We borrow it from old words that were built to move slowly. The keeper reaches for a second sheet, a newer copy. He begins to write, not because he thinks the old page will vanish tonight, but because he knows what time does. Time dries fibers. Time fades ink. Time changes languages. But time also rewards care. He copies the lines with unhurried attention. He leaves space between symbols. He pauses at the same places the old keeper marked. He lets his own breathing set the pace of the pen. Scratch, pause, scratch, pause. Each pause feels like a small mercy. As he writes, he thinks of the people who will come after him. He will not meet them. He will not know their names. And yet he writes for them anyway, the way a parent folds clean clothes for a child who is already asleep. The gesture is practical, and it is also love. On a nearby shelf, tucked between larger bundles, A thin list of days rests like a bookmark. Favorable, quiet, watchful. The keeper glances at it and feels his shoulders ease as if someone has granted him permission. Permission to go slowly. Permission to not push against the night. Permission to let tomorrow remain on the far side of sleep. He finishes a paragraph and sits back. For a moment he listens to the building. He hears the hallway lamp. He hears a distant oar splash once on the river, and then silence. He hears the river's low breath, and in the layered sound he hears something else: continuity. It is easy to think of history as noise, wars, leaders, arguments, disasters, but history is also this: a lamp turned low, a page copied, a breath lengthened, a worry sealed and set on a shelf. And if you look closely, you can see how the great idea becomes small again. Mayat is not only carved on temple walls, it is a bowl placed straight on a table. It is a door closed gently instead of slammed. It is a sentence spoken slowly enough to be kind. It is the decision to stop searching the dark for answers that can wait for daylight. The keeper closes the book he is copying into. He wraps the old papyrus in linen again. He places both, old and new, into the chest together. Then he closes the lid. He reaches for fresh clay, presses a seal gently, and marks the chest with a calm, simple stamp. Not danger, not forbidden, just kept. And in that small act, he gives the future a gift, a safe container. If you'd like, imagine your own safe container tonight. A shelf in your mind where unfinished tasks can rest, a chest where worries can be placed without being fought, a seal that says kindly, "Not now." Morning can carry what morning is made for. If a thought returns again and again, you don't have to wrestle it. You can hold it like the keeper holds the chest, firmly, gently, with two hands. You can say silently, "I see you." Then you can place it down, not with rejection, but with care. And when you place it down, notice what happens in the shoulders. Notice what happens behind the eyes. Notice how the body understands containment as safety. The keeper slides the chest back onto the shelf. He stands, stretches his shoulders, and extinguishes the lamp near the table. The room darkens, but it does not feel empty. It feels like something has been tucked in. As he leaves, he walks through a straight corridor where the stone holds the night's coolness. For a moment he rests his fingertips against the wall, feeling its steadiness, letting the steadiness travel into his hands. He passes the water clock and hears a single drop fall, soft, patient, almost friendly. He smiles because the sound says what the word said: "You may take your time." Outside, he pauses at the doorway and looks up. Stars are spread like quiet punctuation across the darkness. He thinks of the old temple, the shadow clock, the careful geometry, the pyramid's calm silhouette. All of it is the same lesson told in different languages. Steadiness is built. Then he closes the door softly. Now let the story turn toward you again. Where are you listening from tonight? A bed in a city, a couch in a quiet house, a hotel room between days, a night shift break with headphones on. Wherever you are, let yourself feel the simple truth. You are here, and that is enough. If tonight's story has brought you calm, leave a gentle comment for yourself. Not for the algorithm, not for urgency, just as a soft note that says, "I showed up." And if you feel like sharing, tell us, what small ritual helps you feel safe at night? Here, no one rests alone. Even if you never type a word, let the feeling of belonging land softly. Imagine a small lantern on your nightstand lit by shared quiet. It doesn't brighten the room, it simply warms the heart for tonight. Across time and distance, we gather in the same low light, listening to the same slow rhythm. In the final part of our journey, we will return one last time to the archive, the shelves, the dust, the drifting lamplight, and we will let the story fade the way a flame fades when it is protected from drafts. We will place the chest back in its quiet corner, and we will let you drift, unasked, into sleep, carried by breath, by water, by the gentle promise of balance. The night by now has learned your shape. It knows the way your breath moves when you are close to sleep. It knows the heaviness that gathers behind the eyes. It knows how the body slowly releases, as if each muscle is remembering a softer way to exist, and the story, too, can learn your shape. So in this final part, we will not hurry, we will not add anything sharp, we will simply return, one last time, to the shelves, to the dust, in lamplight, to the gentle art of keeping. And then we will let the words thin out like smoke after a candle is covered. Imagine the archive again, not as a grand monument, but as a simple, safe room that has done the same work for centuries. The air is dry and calm, the shelves rise in quiet rows, bundles of papyrus wrapped in linen rest side by side like sleeping birds. A faint scent of plant fiber and ink lingers, soft and familiar, as if the room itself has been reading for a long time. The lamp on the table is turned down low. Its flame does not flicker wildly. It breathes. In that warm circle of light, dust floats slowly, shimmering like tiny pieces of time. If you watch it long enough, your thoughts begin to slow to match it. There is something deeply soothing about watching what does not hurry. A keeper enters. He does not speak. He does not need to. His footsteps are quiet on stone. His shoulders are relaxed. His hands move with the confidence of someone who has learned that gentleness is a form of strength. He walks to the shelf where the chest rests. The chest is still sealed, the way it always is, sealed not from fear, but from care. A simple mark pressed into clay, a quiet promise, kept. He lifts it down with both hands and sets it on the table. And for a moment, he does nothing. He simply sits with it, letting the room settle around him, letting his breath settle inside him, letting the night say softly, "You don't have to do more." This is a moment you can borrow. Right now, if there is anything in you that still wants to achieve, to solve, to finish, let it rest. Just for this moment, just for these few breaths. The keeper breaks the seal gently. The soft snap is barely audible. He opens the lid. Inside, the linen is folded neatly. Inside, the papyrus and the later copy rest together. Old and new, side by side. Continuity made visible. He lifts the bundle out and unwraps it slowly, letting the cloth open like a quiet flower. He lays the older page flat, then the newer one beside it. The symbols are steady. The spacing is kind. The ink is dark enough to be seen in low light. He reads a line silently. Then very softly, he speaks it. Not loudly, not to impress anyone, just so the words can exist in air again the way they were always meant to. A phrase, a pause, a breath, another phrase, another pause, and as he reads, the room seems to become even quieter, as if the words have reminded the stone what it was built to do. Hold. Outside, somewhere beyond the walls, the river continues. If you listen closely in your imagination, you can hear it. A distant, low-moving sound like the world breathing in its sleep. The keeper pauses at a marked place in the margin, or a tiny dot, a line, a reminder from a hand long gone. Pause here. Breathe here. So he pauses, he breathes, and in that breath, ma'at is no longer an idea. It is simply what happens when the body stops resisting the night. Balance returning. A level bowl, a steady flame, a mind that no longer clenches. If you'd like, take one slow exhale now. A slightly longer exhale than usual, and let your shoulders sink a little more, as if gravity is finally allowed to do its gentle work. The keeper reads one more passage, then he stops. Not because he is finished in a dramatic way, but because he recognizes the moment. This is enough for tonight. He folds the pages carefully. He wraps them in linen again, the way you wrap something fragile and beloved. He places them back into the chest. Then he closes the lid. The sound of the lid settling is soft, final in the calmest way, like a book closed after the last page, when you don't feel loss, only comfort. He presses a fresh seal into clay, a simple mark, a small, quiet circle of certainty. Kept. He slides the chest back onto its shelf where it belongs. Now the archive is complete again. Shelves steady, bundles resting, dust floating, lamp breathing low. The keeper turns down the lamp even more. The light becomes dimmer, softer, almost dreamlike. The corners of the room grow deeper, but not frightening, just sleepy. He walks to the doorway and pauses. For a moment, he listens to the temple and the world beyond it. A faint drip from the water clock. Drop, pause, drop. The sound is so gentle it feels like a lullaby made of time itself. He closes the door softly, and the archive sleeps. Now let the story drift back to you. You have traveled a long distance tonight, not in miles, but in calm. From busy thoughts into slower ones. From outer noise into inner steadiness. From the sharpness of day into the softness of night. If your mind is still awake, that's okay. You do not have to force sleep. Sleep is like the Nile. It arrives when it arrives. Your only job is to make the banks gentle. So make your banks gentle now. Let your breath move without effort. Let your jaw rest. Let your shoulders drop. Let your hands be heavy. Let your legs soften into the surface beneath you. If a thought appears, you can treat it the way the keeper treated the chest. Notice it, hold it briefly, place it down. Seal it with care, not now. Morning can carry it. And if you're already drifting, let the words thin. Let them become softer. Let them become fewer. Because the story does not need to hold you forever. It only needs to walk beside you until you no longer need footsteps. If this story brought you calm, leave a gentle comment for yourself. Don't forget to subscribe for more peaceful nighttime journeys. And wherever you are tonight, in a city apartment, a quiet house, a hotel room, a night shift corner, remember this: here, no one rests alone. Every story from the past is a soft lantern in the dark, gently lighting our way tonight. Now, let the lantern dim, let the shelf hold what needs to be held, let the river keep moving, let the water clock keep dropping. Drop, pause, drop, pause, and your breath in and out and in and out, until even the idea of counting disappears, and only rest remains.
Our story pauses here. Every visual and word you've experienced was assisted by AI, yet guided and perfected by sincere human emotion. We hope this harmony of history and technology has crafted a beautiful dream for you tonight. Let go and drift deep into sleep. Good night.